In this video, I want to speak about BTC USD because at the moment we do have quite interesting price action and structure. Now, as usual, to keep the video as educational as possible, first I'm going to be covering the technical aspect of this market. Then we will move to the on-chain data, so looking at how Bitcoins are moving on and off from exchanges. And by the end of the video, by using the combination of these two different types of analysis, we will try to understand where we have the highest probabilities for the next potential move here on this pair. Now, starting from the monthly time frame, what we can see is that we have a market which at the moment is about to test a quite strong area of previous monthly resistance, which is now turned support. In fact, from here, all this previous move to the downside was created. The market has now broken above that zone. So this previous resistance is now turned support here. So what we could expect is a potential retest of this previous resistance turned support before then getting a rejection to the upside. Dropping down on the weekly time frame, what do we see? Now, from a weekly perspective, we can see how the market has shifted from creating a series of lower lows and lower highs to now creating the first higher high. And now, since we already had a higher low here and another higher high here, there's the possibility to see another higher low be created around this zone. We can also notice how, if we look left, all this zone here is a quite strong area of previous weekly resistance from which all this move to the downside was created, which is now turned support at this level. So there is the possibility for a minor stop hunt below this low, for essentially the market having the possibility to stop hunt all the stop losses that are below this low of people that started FOMOing into this move to the upside and adding leveraged longs which had their stop losses below the low. And then after stopping out everyone, at that point we could see the rejection to the upside. Dropping down on the daily time frame, what do we have? Now, from a daily perspective, what we can notice is that at the moment, this area here is previous daily support, which is now turned resistance. This area was acting as previous support here. The market has now broken it to the downside. It's turned resistance at this level. So what we could expect is a potential retest of this previous support and resistance. And from here to the market to create rejections to the downside. This means that this is actually a quite important key area of this chart. If the market will manage to break above it, at that point, this previous support, which is now turned resistance, would once again be turned support. So after the break on the retest of this previous resistance turned support, this is where we would have quite interesting price action for a potential rejection to the upside. Now, if we go and see what we have when it comes to the on-chain data, so how Bitcoins are moving on and off from exchanges, especially if we look at exchange reserves, what we can see is that as price was dropping, the amount of Bitcoins on exchanges was dropping even more. So this means that a massive amount of Bitcoins is getting bought and moved away from exchanges, possibly in cold storage. This creates illiquidity so that if demand gets increased or if the amount of Bitcoins that get emitted into circulation gets cut in half, at that point price should increase to accommodate for this new demand. So fundamentals at the moment for Bitcoin are quite strong. So if the market will actually break on the retest of this previous resistance turn support, how we could be approaching a potential rejection to the upside. Now, as usual, trading is reactive and not predictive. The monthly, weekly, and daily combined with the on-chain data, those are the best time frames from a directional perspective. However, when it comes to confirmations and entries, the best time frames are the intraday time frames, so 4 hour and lower. Therefore, what we could be doing, potentially also with students, if the market will break above this resistance on the retest, is monitoring price action from an intraday perspective during this move to the downside, waiting for the market to shift from an intraday bearish price action as we would have to an intraday bullish price action. And if the market would shift from an intraday bearish to bullish price action and provide to us one of our valid entries, at that point we could be looking for a potential rejection to the upside for the market to complete this impulse correction and impulse pattern to the upside. Now, if you enjoyed this free analysis education and update, make sure that you drop a like and a comment. It really does support the creation of more free analysis education and updates for all of you, and I will see you in my next breakdown.